The launch of Overwatch 2 brought in a character that would go on to define the meta of the game for the better part of 2 years. She was extremely good, pretty broken, and a bunch of balance changes still could not get her out of the meta because she was so useful and so versatile. Of course, that character was Kiriko. But let's not forget about the other broken character on launch, Sojourn. And Sojourn was meta in this game for a very, very long time, no matter what they did as well. It's a very similar story to Kiriko. The only difference is that the nerfs that they gave to Soj actually mattered. See, Kiri is no longer really in the meta, not necessarily because of balance changes, but more so because of Juno and other characters being introduced and being changed around her. But Soj was basically shot and killed a couple of seasons ago when they made her rail damage go down significantly. Now she does 100 damage to the body and 150 damage to the head. So I want to kind of dissect why Sojourn is the way she is, where she currently is balance-wise, what the direction for her character is, but also, what do I want to see from this character? What are the changes that I would like to see? Now, you are going to see a couple of quick play games playing in the background where we get absolutely rolled. It is not close. I am not having a lot of value in these games. My Sojourn is washed up. I'm in my DPS slump era. When Soj isn't broken, then I am garbage. So have fun. Enjoy me missing every shot. It's almost like headshots don't exist in this game. Also, you should subscribe. Thank you. So, anyways, with Sojourn, I want to talk about what is going on, right? Like, why is Sojourn like this in the first place? Why have they changed her to be like this? Well, of course, one shot, right? The high burst potential, the extremely early kill potential, the movement that allowed her to get into extremely silly places where you wouldn't be able to really counter her with that one shot. It was a lot. It really was a lot. And they did a couple of things. They nerfed her damage, and they also brought health up across the board after Season 9. But as we all know, when Season 9 hit, Sojourn was still pretty good. It still didn't quite matter because she was so versatile. Mobile, she had so many things that she could do. So the changes that came in, I want to say it was Season 10. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you. But those changes that came in that brought Sojourn's weapon damage down and all of that were the nail in the coffin. I mean, it took Sojourn from like S tier, A tier at worst, all the way down to like D tier. I won't say F tier because she's still like a hit scan and whatnot, but this character has been suffering recently, and they have given her a bunch of buffs, which we'll get into in a second. But what was the idea for Sojourn? Well, obviously it was to reduce the impact of her burst damage, right? They did not want this character to be doing so much hyper burst, potentially like effectively one-shotting everybody in the cast. So they brought it down to where she just can't do that anymore. And of course, they brought her range in a little bit ago, much longer ago now, actually. But the problem, I think, was that they made it so that, what's it called? They just cut her skill curve, effectively. They cut her damage. The skill of this character is in the high value you get out of the one shot, right? Unlike somebody like Ashe, Cass, Widowmaker, where they have consistent damage where, you know, there's different like fire rates between them, but they're always able to do the same thing, right? Widow is always able to get headshots every time she takes a shot, right? Sojourn is different. Sojourn has to build for it. Now, her earlier iterations, it was much too easy to build rail that gave you a one shot effectively, right? So that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with making it so that Sojourn isn't as effective in those burst situations. But what they basically did to her was that they're trying to move her into this role of a consistent DPS, right? Her gun, her primary fire, not like the rail shot, but her just regular fire is better overall. It does more damage. It's more consistent so that she can get more damage pre-fight or mid-fight and then go for the higher burst damage kill. That's kind of like what they're doing in the follow-up. But the problem is that Sojourn's burst, her rail shot, at most can do 150 damage. Compare that to her contemporaries, we'll say Cass and Ashe for this because she's no longer like Widow one-shotting people, right? Ashe to the head also does 150 damage. The problem is that Ashe shoots like bang, 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 right? Cass is the same way. He does 140 damage. Bang, bang, bang. That is the potential of, we'll say for Ashe, right? 150 damage, 150 damage, 150 damage, 150 damage. But the problem is that Soj has to build up to that. So then it's like, shoot, 150. But that gives everybody time to respond, to heal, to get out of the way. And of course, she still has to hit that shot. Where, if she just goes for the body shot, sure, she'll be doing more than the other characters. But it still just isn't, that much. It's not particularly worth it. The other big difference with these two is that Soj does not have the potential to get an opening pick. It is extremely hard for Soj because she has to find the rail charge first before she can actually go for a shot. And even if she did, let's say Soj finds the 100 rail. I just got rolled. She finds the 100 charge. She hits the headshot on somebody. How does she follow up? Unlike Ashe or Cass, right? She can't. When Ashe gets 150 headshot right away, she can follow up with another headshot. She can follow up with another body shot. She can follow up like that, right? Or Ashe could just open with a dynamite and then go into a headshot, something like that. Cass is the same way. He gets 140 damage. He can follow up with a shot immediately after. Sojourn does not have this luxury. So when you throw her into the consistent DPS role, right? The consistent burst DPS hit scan, she doesn't compete with those two because she doesn't have the tools to be useful like they are, right? Just because she is more slippy than the others. My brain broke trying to say that. Just because she's harder to pin down than the others does not mean that she is providing as much value as them, right? So it's a bit of a weird situation with how they've done it. And of course, with a bunch of her recent balance updates, they've tried to make her more consistent, easier to get rail, easier to keep rail, so that you're firing that rail more often. But again, even no matter how often you're firing it, she still has the build up time, the charge up time, and she's always going to have those weaknesses, but she doesn't have anything substantial to compensate for those, right? So it is a really, really hard, it's a really hard thing to work with. And, with the current meta, even if she were a little better, it's hard to justify her in, Ori Juno comps, because Juno just allows them to offset her high mobility and run at her, and be able to kill her more effectively. And with an Orisa on the battlefield, she cannot chunk down the Orisa like a Cass or an Ashe can, because her primary fire is getting reduced by the armor when Cass's and Ashe's are not. So it's just, she's not going to compete in this meta, but I don't think she can compete in any meta with them. And even in this most recent iteration where she is, all the new changes that she just got, I still just don't think, Disruptor being more valuable, I think, is a good change. I think that's perfectly fine. And it going for her rail, I also like. I think that's a good way to get some value out of it, out of the space that you can create with that move. I think that's perfectly fine. But that is Sojourn as she exists now. Her niche is just not there. And she just doesn't do the job like she is supposed to compared to her contemporaries, right? So that's why I've been extremely frustrated with Sojourn for the past couple of months, because this is a very high skill character, very fun character. The gameplay loop of charging up rail and then getting a very powerful shot is super satisfying. But when the shot is just not that powerful, she just doesn't feel fun to play. Even though all of her moves are the same, it just isn't as satisfying. It's kind of similar to when Hanzo couldn't one-shot anymore, having to fire up this bow and, you know, have this whole draw charge time with the draw. It just isn't fun when you're just not actually able to kill anybody, right? It just doesn't feel as good. So that is where we're at with Sojourn right now. That's what I think. But if I could sneak into Blizzard office right now and change a couple of sliders, what would I do with Sojourn? Well, I think that this character just needs to be more volatile. I don't think she needs to be a consistent DPS character, but I also think that she doesn't have to be a consistent threat all the time, and I'll talk about that. So I'm just gonna do it. I wrote down like 2 different things about her damage numbers, but I think I'm just gonna do it. I think she should do at least 200 to the head, 100 base, 200 to the head, and I would not be opposed to her doing 225 so that she could kill 225 HP heroes. Bring back some of those dynamics that old Hanzo had, where he could, you know, one tap other two, like the characters that are the most danger to him, the mobile characters that were 225. He could one tap them, but he couldn't one tap the other cast, right? Back when season 12 came out. I think something for Sojourn, I think that would work really well for Sojourn because she is a super high risk, high reward type character. I'll settle on 200. I think that's perfectly fine, but I would be down for 225. She gets even more headshot multiplier. But anyways, much more multiplier on her headshot. A regular headshot multiplier, if not more, okay? This rewards your mechanical skill so much, and it gives Sojourn that the feeling that you want when you play this character, right? You want that power spike when you fire the rail. Right now, that power spike, in my opinion, just isn't there. I think it needs to be there in the first place, right? So to compensate for this, I do not want Sojourn having rail all the time, right? I don't want these shots to be coming out all the time. So my solution that I've had, and maybe some other changes would need to be made to her rate of charge. My solution always was that Soj was so effective at just shooting the tank, getting rail off the tank, and then shooting somebody else that was more valuable to shoot, right? So why not just make it so that when Soj shoots a tank, she only gets 20% of the ult charge. So when you would do 5 and then 10 for headshot, she would do 1 and then 2 for headshot, so that shooting tank is less effective, but it's also now you're making decisions like, do I want to chunk down the tank and get less rail because I need to get them out of the fight, or should I try to take a duel higher risk, trying to go for a squishy or something to build my rail, but my reward is better because I can potentially get it much faster, right? So she can play that consistent DPS role if you wanted her to, where she shoots the tank more and it's just super not effective, or she goes for that higher risk, high reward, shoot the squishies instead, and try to find some insane early picks like that, right? It brings back a couple of the dynamics into her game plan, especially when you put that together with the changes that she does 200 to the head once more. I say once more, she did like 195 in one patch, but since we're, you know, everything has more health now. Yeah, anyways. So with that, of course, I don't want her to be holding on to these rail shots forever. Bring back the charge deterioration, going back down to 7, even less maybe. I think when you make her charge hold too long, like it is right now, it's 12 seconds, you lose a lot of that gameplay loop, that satisfying, like, okay, I'm trying to like hit them as much as possible just to keep my rail to find a good chance. Or maybe do I not try to keep the rail and I just fire it, right? When you have it on 12 seconds, there's no point to just like going for a like, okay, I just have to throw a rail in here because, You know, like here, I just shot Bastion. 12 seconds later, I would still have 100 charge, and that just isn't fun. It just isn't fun. There's no mini game here, right? I think that's a really important part of Sojourn's identity that is just missing right now because of some of the changes that they made. So I would bring that back as well. And finally, I would put her down to 225 HP. She is hypermobile. She would have the kill power in theory. So she should be much more susceptible, right? Especially if in my perfect version where she can hit for 225, you know, then it's dog eat dog world, right? If she messes it up, then the mobile characters feast on her because it's harder to build rail, keep rail, and it's harder to hit those characters, right? Because they're mobile and they're already on her. So that is kind of what I think. It's a lot of nerfs to Soj just to make it so that she is more, I don't know. It brings back the dynamics, right? That's all I want. I want Soj to have those old dynamics. I just don't want her to be a menace. I don't want her to be one-shotting everything, but I want her to be powerful. I want her to feel powerful. She should feel good. Soj is like one of the most fun characters I have played in any game ever, right? I think it's so fun. And yes, she was overtuned for a very, very long time, but I thought it was perfectly fine because the character is very skillful, very fun, a very unique game plan for a DPS character. A lot of the DPS characters in this game just do not do it for me. Soj always did, but she doesn't now. And it's just really frustrating seeing where they've brought this character. Not to say that she didn't need changes, but I feel like it's okay for certain characters to be meta for as long as they are, right? Tracer, it's perfectly fine for her to be meta. I'm never mad when Tracer is meta. And to be honest with you, I've never been mad when Sojourn's meta. Now, I was a dirty Sojourn abuser. First time I ever hit Masters on this role was just playing this character. I almost hit GM in some of those older seasons when they, you know, did all the MMR stuff. I was like Masters 1, just playing Soj. But yeah, I miss her. I miss her. I want her back. She just isn't fun to play. Like, I had to play these quick play games, and honestly, it just felt awful. Yeah, I was not having any fun at all. And I'm pretty washed on DPS. I just haven't been playing much. I'm playing a lot of tank, so my mechanics are not doing so hot. But still, it's just, I don't know. I would really like them to take another look at Soj. Why Soj worked in the first place, her original design goals, because I don't think right now she fits the role that they're trying to shoehorn her into. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this video, and I want to hear back from you. What do you think about Soj right now? Do you think she is underrated, overrated? What changes do you like? And do you like Soj at all? I know some people really do hate her guts because of that time that she was relevant. Like the video while you're at it. Also, in my Discord, I am running a little bit of a giveaway game type thing. You can win 3 Twitch Prime months to my channel. I said that weird. 3 months of sub to my channel if you are able to be the most accurate with predicting who is going to get nominated for Game of the Year. All of the details are in the description in my Discord. So you should check that out if that interests you. I'm looking for a bunch of submissions there. And of course, I stream live twitch.tv/LaneHemingway Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I'm always doing a discussion and playing a bunch of ranked as well. And I will probably be playing a lot of Rivals too, just chilling and talking to chat. Okay, that is all I've got for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day.